I think a lot changed in 2025. A lot. I think a lot more is probably going to change in 2026. Again, we'll get into all of that. But these rules are really based on like not just what I think is like going to work in 2026 necessarily, but more like if we're in this constantly changing environment, what actually feels good within this? So, like, my first rule, which has kind of always been my rule, but it like feels really good to have it written down, is like, I do what feels good. It's like I was just saying about this live stream. If I was like bringing this to a business coach, I imagine there is a version of coach that would be like, don't do the live stream in the Facebook group anymore. Your people aren't on Facebook as much. It's da, 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 da. But like to me, when I really sit with like, do I like doing these every week? Does it feel fun to me? Does it feel good in my system? Do I enjoy it? The answer is yes. Like, and I'm like, I want to make it that simple for myself, right? I do what feels good. It feels good to keep doing these lives, period. It doesn't mean I don't put strategy around that. It doesn't mean I'm not like, okay, well, what else could I do to leverage them or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But it's like the foundation of stuff is I do what feels good. And I just think so many of us forget to run our business from that place. And I think that that almost can seem cheesy or like, oh, I'll do what feels good when I'm making X or whatever. But like the longer I'm in business, the more clients I help, the more I see this as like pretty much everything. Because when you're doing what feels good, all of the shit that can happen is annoying, but it doesn't bug you as much because it fucking feels good what you're doing. When you're doing a bunch of shit you don't want to do and then something random happens, like a client gets upset or whatever, it throws you so much because you're like, I was only doing this to get a result and now I'm not even getting the result I want. It's like not worth it. And in the changing online environment, like you have to be willing to move through those things. It's not 2021 anymore where like you could throw up some like mediocre, shitty post and get a ton of feedback and like everything was like action, result, action, result, action, result, right? It's different than that now. And so you have to have stuff that make the action feel good or you're gonna hit a wall like every time, right? Hey Liz, hey Jess, happy new year, you guys. Megan said yes to doing what feels good. Yes, yes. Happy New Year. It's so good to see you. You love my reel. Oh my God, thank you. I'm feeling like I was like, oh, am I gonna feel like a little bit of a hangover putting my like me in a bathing suit on Instagram? But I'm like actually not feeling it, which I feel like is very good. I'm like taking that as a growth moment. And also makes your marketing more sustainable because you're actually enjoying it. Yes, that like your business feeling good is the foundation for sustainability, like Megan is saying, right? Like it's what lets you move through all the stuff. It's what makes it easier to show up every day. And so, like, really, like the rule is I do what feels good. Like, I have a meeting with my team tomorrow, and there's this one little thing about how we're doing to-dos in base camp for me that is like bugging me a little bit. And for like months, I've been like, who cares? That's so dumb. And then as I was going through my list of like, I do it feels good. I'm like, no, this one little thing doesn't feel good to me. Like, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna ask if we can change it up. Like, and I know they're gonna be so amenable to that. Like, they're amazing. Like, Taylor's gonna be like, absolutely, right? And it's like so silly, but it's like every element I want to be like, I feel good in how we're doing every single thing. And if we don't, I'm like willing to speak up or at least make a shift, you know? Hey Deborah, Happy New Year. Jess said I seriously thought Kenny bought a drone and did that. So I hope that makes him feel good. That just tells me you know Kenny because that is such a Kenny thing to do. Like if I like showed him a reel and was like, isn't this funny? He'd be like, oh, a drone's arriving tomorrow. So anyway, that's you know Kenny because he absolutely would do that. Thankfully, that is not what happened because I don't know if I have a lot of drone videos in my future. If you watch my stories, it was such a hysterical experience. Like it looks so beautiful in the video. And it obviously was so beautiful, but you're like right next to the shore. So like people were watching and engaging the whole time. And then they're like telling you the pose, like the person is telling you the poses. They're like, okay, sit up now. Anyway, I don't know if I have a lot of drones in my future, but I'm glad we did it. Feel really glad that I pushed myself, but also what the fuck. Um, okay. Next thing is next rule. is I say no sooner. I feel like, what's the word I want to use? Like, okay, you know that saying in business that's like hire slow, fire fast. I feel like I've learned that, over the years as like that is for sure true. And what I really, Michelle, I can get that to you. It's compelling. I'm not gonna lie. They leave the shore part out that their marketing is top notch. Um, but like I feel like I'm pretty good at taking my time with stuff. I feel like I'm really good about being like I kind of add one thing a year. I'm like really intentional about that, but I could be faster at saying no to stuff. Like I often will kind of be like, oh, let me sit with that or let me think about it or whatever. But actually I'm like, I kind of like know how I feel about something pretty quickly. And so whether that's like doing something that doesn't feel good or someone asking me for something that I don't actually want to give, or my team being like, hey, could you just like whatever it is, I want to find my no quicker and sooner. And I think that's really important in this changing online environment too, because I feel like there's so many new things you can constantly be saying yes to, like, even like new platforms and new whatever. It's like I was saying earlier, like I personally as a consumer love TikTok and I've been like liking Substack. So it's like it's so easy to be like, oh, I should be on TikTok too, and I should be on Substack, but it's like I need to find my no on those things sooner, instead of kind of being too long in the deliberation of it because it takes up so much mental bandwidth and brain space. Um, Tara said, love that one. I need that for life too. I'm getting better at saying no more, but I definitely need to just do it sooner for sure. Mine is related to life too. I need to work on this saying no sooner. I'm getting better, but it feels odd still. Right. So I feel like for so long, like I've let myself be like a processor, which I think is good. But I was even practicing this with something with my team. Like I was like, hey, can you run numbers on this and and see if we should do it? And then I was kind of like sitting with it. And Taylor was sort of like, okay, well, like, let me know. And I was gonna take even more time. And then I was like, you know what? No. I know it's no. Like I just need to be a no, you know? And not spend the energy. Like I'm trying to think about like being in this like decision point for too long is really an energetic spend that I don't want to give anymore. Even if I typically come to the answer that's good for me, I want to spend less energy in that. And again, I think it's so important in an online space like this that's demanding so much of you. That's like, what about this platform or what about this thing or like sign up for my program for this or all of that stuff. Like you have to find your no sooner or all of your energy can go to that. Um, so another one is I keep the focus on personal connection and relationships. Like I really believe and have always believed that relationships are the foundation for absolutely everything in business, for success, for audience growth, for conversions, for client success. Like to me, relationships are the literal thread and linchpin of every piece of that. But again, in a changing dynamic, it's easy to feel like there's always something new or whatever. And so my rule being like, if it gets me more connections and relationships, I'm here for it. If it prioritizes relationships, I'm here for it. If it doesn't, it's a no for me. Like I got asked to do something and how do I want to say this without being specific? The vibe didn't feel relationshipy to me. Okay. I'll just say it like that. And so that's an example of like, I wanted to find my no sooner. And I wanted to be like, if the vibe isn't about relationships, I'm not here for that vibe, period. Jess said I have a parking lot list of things that my ping pong brain has told me I should do in 26, and I've been doing approximately none of them right now. I think that is the thing though, right? It's not that we don't acknowledge those or we're not like, yes, that's amazing, but we're just like, no, I don't have to feel pulled to do that because either it doesn't actually feel good to me, it's not what actually works best for me, or whatever. But I think that like being willing to be like, I don't have to say yes to everything just because it's a good idea is like one of the biggest skills you can have in scaling a business. Christina said same, Lily said same. This is the year I want to put myself in bigger rooms because I'm done saying yes to the wrong things that don't help me grow. Totally, right? Like finding your no sooner, doing the right things. Like And I also think on the personal connection and relationships front, like that is so required in a space that is just going to get more and more flooded with AI content, all of that kind of stuff, which leads me to one of my next rules. This is spans goal and rule, I guess. This is definitely on my 2026 goals list too, but I'm also putting it as a rule. I feel like this is almost a controversial stance, and I don't know why, but I am not using ChatGPT for any copy or content this year, period, full stop, cold turkey, except for my show notes. I am going to asterisk that. I'm going to use it for podcast show notes because, like, a girl's got to have some support, you know? But I just think we're going to get more and more flooded with AI content. And personally, for me right now, when I see it, I'm like, I'm immediately tuned out, like so quickly. I'm done. Even if it's somebody I really like, even if it, excuse me, something I think is interesting, the minute I get the AI read on it, I'm just over it. And I have personally not ever really used AI to write a ton for me, I guess, like here and there, but not a ton. But always like shied away from that a little bit more. But I've definitely used it as a brainstorming partner. And one, I'm like over it, like I said, but two, I also just come into my crazy brain for a second, guys. Welcome. I really feel like my brain is my number one asset. Full stop. And so, especially as I'm like nearing 40, I'm like thinking about things that are important for brain health. And I just don't think my brain is going to benefit the most from having as much of a brainstorming partner in ChatGPT as I have. I think there are ways to use it that are really positive. I definitely don't think this is right for everyone. I'm certainly not suggesting this should be everyone's role. I'm just saying this is mine. Like I want to have to flex that creative muscle a lot more. I want to have to rely on myself for that. I don't want to be 10 years down the road in my business being like, I can't even string a fucking sentence together. And like, maybe I will be, who knows? Right. But like right now, I'm like, I'm done. None. I think especially because I review so much content for clients. I just like, I can see it in an instant. And I'm like being pretty bold with like I just said bold, so that word's in my head. I'm being pretty bold with my clients too about being like, this just sounds like AI. This just sounds like AI. This just sounds like AI. Like, and like Christina said, it's not authentic. So if we're focused on the relationships aspect, it's not relationship building when you're like, there is just no soul behind this content. Like that's how it feels to me. Like it feels soulless because it is. Um, Leah said, right there with you on no ChatGPT for content. Never thought I'd be anti-AI, but here we are. Same, like, and it's weird because I don't feel anti-AI at all. Like, actually, I had this like thing happen yesterday where I got this like spot on my face that was like numb and tingly, and it was freaking me the fuck out. And like ChatGPT is my bestie for that. It helped me figure out what's going on in like a second. I felt so much better. I was like chill. I was not worried about it. Like I still will utilize AI for things, but I really think this idea of like we are writing content to build relationships, it's just not the place for me to use it. Like it's just not. Um, Tara said this is something I think I've always taken a weird stance on. Have never even once used ChatGPT for content. I hate it so much. I love that, Tara. Lily said this is such a popular topic right now. The bye-bye to ChatGPT for creativity. I felt it. I feel lame when I can't come up with stuff without Chatty, so I had to force myself to stop using it. Yep. But the nausea, Leah said, the nausea it creates when you read AI content is its own level of ick. I totally agree. Like even if it's someone where I'm like, I love you, I love what you're saying, like I do get such an ick. And again, like I've always been like a proponent of like use it for brainstorming, but I think even that's just going too far right now because it's just all the same shit. And again, from like a brain health standpoint, now that there's like actual studies showing us that like it is not supportive for our brain, like that's sort of what tipped me over the edge too of being like, we have like real data about this. I'm not trying to gamble with like my most valuable asset, you know? Manisha said just happened to pop on and I have a visceral response when I hear about the way people are using ChatGPT and not in a good way. Yes, so interesting. Lucy said, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how AI is affecting the coaching industry. I feel like a lot of my potential clients go to ChatGPT now instead of coaching, and I try to speak to it in my marketing, but it feels present. Totally. I think that, I mean, honestly, like we'll see what happens, but I think that we're just going to get flooded with more and more AI content. And I think that like a lot of people on this live stream are almost at like the front end of that, and like look at how much ick they're getting. Like I think that's going to be more and more. Like I think, but you almost have to use it for a period of time to the point where you realize you're in like an echo chamber and it's not working. So Lucy, for some of your people, like it just takes some time for them to like use it enough. And then you pointing out like, hey, if you're using it and it's always telling you this and it's always telling you you're right and it's always blah, 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 like it's probably like hurting you more than it's helping you. Like I think that is probably it, but honestly, sometimes it's just time. Um, your content will be so much better. AI doesn't know viral content yet. Yeah, totally. Unless you micromanage it, the brainstorming takes you in a direction that you wouldn't really go and there's no return. And even if you micromanage it, exactly. Like, I noticed that for a lot of the brainstorming it was doing with me, it would be talking about stuff like anti-hustle and stuff like that. And I'm like, I never talk about that. Like, yes, I talk about like having a balanced life, but like not in like a anti-hustle culture. Like I've never talked about it like that. Why are we talking about like why are we brainstorming in this direction? So anyway, I'm sure AI will get smarter and smarter and better and better. And then we'll all have to like reevaluate what our relationship is to it then. But for right now, it's like a no for me. Um, and I also think more and more AI content is going to continue to flood social platforms, and it's probably going to get better and better too. And so to try to be like using it, but not in that like in the most expert level way just doesn't make sense to me. Like I'm like, I just have to like be the best version of me I can be for it. And I just like want this little brain to keep ticking, you know, for as long as she can. So somewhat controversial, but definitely a big one for me. Um, Another one is I don't talk at people, I talk with them. I think that you know, this is continuing to be a thing for a lot of 2025, but I think it's going to be even bigger in 2026. Like anytime you're talking at your people, do this, you should be this, do this better, take these tips, blah, blah, blah. I just think we're all tuning it out. And I think we're getting the ick on that too. Um, I really feel like no one wants to be talked at anymore, period. In any niche, in any like social platform, whatever. Like I think we're so over being talked at. And so I really like only want to be doing stuff that's like talking with, like, hey, let's have a conversation about this. This whole like I'm the expert and I know best and I'm talking at you and telling you what you don't know, like I think is dying a slow, painful death in our space. And like obviously, I'm sure there are some people that will ride that out till the end, but I really believe that the people who continue to build relationships, who continue to build not just audiences, but like engaged audiences, are the people who are talking with their audience, who are bringing them into the fold and into the story and into the experience. And so for me, that's just like 100% what I want to do. And I do think it takes some like pivoting in your brain, especially if you're creating content in like 2020 to 2022 or whatever, where you were so used to like, do this, do that, here's the tip, here's the thing. It takes a pretty big shift to be like, no, I'm not talking at people like that anymore. But I also think it's worth it. Like, I think if I look at what I like to consume, if I look at content my friends are sending me, my clients are sending me, if I look at the content from clients that are just absolutely popping off, if I look at where my own content performs well or underperforms, like it's pretty much the thread is like, are we bringing people in? Are we talking with them? Are we including them in the conversation? Are we talking to them like they're also empowered adults? Like not, you know, like we all know what content feels like, and it doesn't feel that fun to consume. Like it really doesn't. So I think that's a big one. Another one that I feel like, and a lot of these are like not just a rule for 2026, right? They're like a rule for business in general, but only focusing on the right metrics. Like I want the rule to be like, I only focus on metrics that truly, truly matter. I think sometimes when you get into data, it can be really easy to like look at all the data. This is something Jen and I used to talk about a lot with Dateable. Of like too much data is also a bad thing because you're fixing a problem that doesn't even need to be fixed just because you like have identified something. And I think that that's what's happening a lot with some social media stuff right now and whatever is like it's just so easy to get like over invested in every single metric instead of like looking at the ones that actually matter for you and your business. And for every business, that's going to be a little bit different. But instead of it being like, okay, we're just keeping a long list of metrics that we're keeping track of in a spreadsheet, like again, a lot of this is about brain space and bandwidth, right? The no sooner isn't just about the no, it's about the bandwidth going there. The right data isn't just about the right data, it's about not putting bandwidth towards stuff that really doesn't matter, right? Um, for me, there was a period of time where I was a lot more focused on like audience growth. And then I would say in the last little while, I've been a lot more focused on like talking with my audience, getting them engaging with me, commenting, DMing me, all of that kind of stuff. Like, and so you have to be able to let go of one metric for another. Again, not that both can't happen. I mean, obviously, like I'm still growing, but and the more engagement you get, like the more you're gonna grow, right? But it's just the point of like you have to focus on the right thing. And it's usually much easier if you're focused on a couple of them at a time instead of so many of them. And so like really holding that as a rule of like not looking at shit just to look at it. Um, Sam said, I think that all stems from the fact that people want relationships, more community authenticity. Oh yeah, the talking with them. Yeah, totally. It's like a craving, it's like we really want to be like, I am talking to a real person who also cares to talk with me. I also think it's the death of kind of that like guru vibe of like someone is like perfect and knows all this stuff that I don't. Like I just think we're like, that's not a thing, you know? Um, but yes, totally agree. Christina said both don't happen 10x at the same time. 100%. Like I'm not going to massively grow and then also be like, and my engagement has kept up with that or vice versa. And like we have to be okay with that. Um again, I just think like gone are the days where it's just like all happening in the snap of a finger, right? Um I also think what's interesting too is like I'm going off on a tangent for 1 second, but stick with me. For a long time, I think when someone was like, oh, I want to like have a career alongside being a mom or whatever, coaching was one of the first places they would look. And now I actually think being like an influencer is pretty much the first place most people look. I think coaching is less so where people are automatically gravitating toward or looking because we're always looking for like what's the easiest version. And so you kind of have to be really clear on like, are you trying to be a coach or whatever you are? Are you trying to like run a business or are you trying to be an influencer? And I think when we're trying to keep up with being an influencer, when really like our primary role is like coach and CEO, we're always going to feel frustrated, right? I would have a totally different strategy and be doing a totally different thing if my goal was just to like grow a social media following and make money um, from that. Do you know what I'm saying? And so I think that that's one of those things where we like really have to be clear on like what actually moves the needle for us in our business, not just like what looks good or like, what do I see other people doing or all of that stuff. We have to be like, what is the point of what I'm doing? Like when I come back to like, what is the point of what a lit up life is doing? Like I want fucking coaching clients, like I don't want whatever internet fame or something. I want enough that I can get coaching clients on repeat. And that's like pretty much it, and no hate if you do want internet fame. Like I actually don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it's like, you got to know your number one metric and you got to go for that. And when you're trying to do it all at once, you're going to be so fucking frustrated. Um, Tara said the real relationship building aspect is why I've never loved ManyChat either, because unfortunately I've seen people who think you can just rely on it to take over your conversations in DMs instead of actually talking to people. Hot prediction from me, Tara, same page. Hot prediction for me for 2026 is like people are burned out as fuck from ManyChat. I totally agree with that. Like, I think like people lost so much engagement with their audience by overutilizing ManyChat, and now like nobody talks to them, right? Because all comments were only ManyChat things. So I totally agree with that. Was just talking to a client about this regarding influencer versus coach. Like it is a different thing, right? Um, that's a different business, influencer versus coaching. I have so many thoughts on this. Could not agree more. It is a different business. Like I would be doing that version of business if I was an influencer so differently. And that doesn't have to be bad. Like that's okay. Right. There are so many things like I would like that I'll see, like I will see a TikTok and I'll be like, oh my God, like, do you know what my thing that I think about sometimes is, you guys? Sometimes I think about like how I want to have a TikTok about being a one and done mom. Okay. That would be a whole different thing. The way I would like make content for that, what I would think about, what I would create, what I would do, how I would record, how I would post, what would be an entirely different business, really, 100%. So anyway, just like so important to be like, we focus on the right things, we make the thing the thing. Um, the best engagement I have is in stories. It's not dead, it's alive and human. Yes, yes, so true. Thank you, Anna. And like that too, it's like know where you get your engagement, be willing to double down on it. Don't need it to be like it, you don't need it to be on the feed, right? Because you're like, I'm getting it in stories, it's fine. Like I don't need to like prove anything. And I think that's really what we come back to with a lot of this, right? Um, Tara said I have a TikTok, but it's completely different from anything that I do on Instagram or Facebook. Yes, I love that. It just makes sense. Like it is different. Um, Okay, what else do I have on here? Um, this pretty much goes along the same lines as this, but I root into where it works for me and not for someone else. I mean, duh, I feel like I preach that all the time. You guys know this, but like we are really entering a phase of the online space where there is not just a thing that works anymore. Like, right, I think there were phases of the online space where it was just like, well, if you put out a course, like courses work really, really well right now, it's probably going to do well because it was so much less saturated. We're really in a space where all that works is figuring out what works for you, figuring out what your unique thing is and how you can really uniquely stand out, and like to the nth degree, right? Like I think about Courtney Cook on TikTok. I feel like I've talked about her a lot lately because I just think it's fascinating. She's a teacher. She just like kind of makes interesting food, and she's grown, I think, millions. I think she's at maybe 2 million now on TikTok in like months. And it's like she is so hyper specific. Like if somebody had come and been like, I'm gonna make a TikTok about like shoving a piece of cheese in a potato and some of these like interesting recipes I make my family or whatever, people would be like, okay. But like she did it with such a level of authenticity that you cannot like you just can't not like her. You're like, that woman is so herself. She's so grounded. She brings you in, right? It's not like I like had this particular craving for a potato with cheese, but like you bet your ass I had one, you know? And so I feel like we're in a state where we have to be like, it only works if it works for me. It only works if it's super authentic to me. It only works if it feels like the truest version of myself. Um, and for me, that's also a thing that I have. Like if I had to define success, to me, like the definition of success is living an authentic life. Um, Jess said you had 2 corrections. No, Jess, I've had like 10 at this point, but yes, you're correct. They're very fucking good, by the way. Highly recommend. Um, but it like my personal definition of success is living an authentic life, which is like why that rule is there. Because it's only worth it to me if it's an authentic version of me. But that's also what happens to be working right now in the online space. Because like, let's just assume there's going to be a million bots that now have accounts, or I guess they're not in bots or whatever, but like AI content that is like a person that has an account or whatever. Like they're going to be able to have a million versions of these, and so you have to be the most you. So this whole idea of like looking to someone else and trying to replicate their process and stuff, like I just don't think it's going to work as well as it has in the past. And I think we all have to get really comfortable with that, which again is like one of the reasons I'm like, I'm out for chat for content. um Another one is, which this one's interesting. This is sort of like on my goals list too, but scrolling way less. And it's not so much because of like I feel like there's a negative, um, what's the word I want to use? Like I personally, we all have our own shit. I personally don't experience a lot of angst with comparison and stuff on social. I have plenty of my own stuff, but like generally, if you hear me talk about social, I love social. I'm like a huge TikTok girl. I love Instagram. Like I really enjoy social. But back to the brain thing, I actually could see how, and I think we're starting to probably like see real evidence of this now, of how much that constant dopamine hit prevents you from being able to do longer term activities like watch a full movie with your attention there and not like going to a phone or different things like that. And so another rule for myself is I'm doing way less scrolling because so much of like what I'm doing this year, I want to be about like how am I getting my brain in like really good shape? You know, like it's not relying on AI so much. It's not being flooded with dopamine all the time. Like when I'm like, okay, we're in a changing online space, what's the number one asset I need to take care of? And that is like my brain needs to be in a really good space for myself, for my clients, whatever. Like I want to be able to like focus on a task for a long time. Like I don't have ADHD, but I don't want to give myself it by constantly dosing it with like never ending dopamine, right? Or like I think I'm a creative person, but I wouldn't say like I'm the most creative person. So I'm not trying to like lose every ounce of that creativity with ChatGPT. So a lot of my rules are about how do I get my brain in a good space? Because I really think that's the only thing that's going to protect us against like AI. That's the thing that's going to help us come up with like uh unique content in like a fully flooded AI space. It's the thing that's going to help us pivot quickly, all of that. And I want to have the attention span and the creativity and the longevity to be able to do that. Um, Thank you, Lacey. Yes, so important. Christina said, I think it massively affects how we create. So my 2026 is to create before I consume. I love that. Manisha said, if you haven't read Stolen Focus yet, I think you would really enjoy it. I totally haven't. Let me write it down. Thank you. Stolen Focus. Lily said, I feel like I gave myself ADHD in 2025. Right. I remember like voice noting Sarah and being like, I saw this post today about ADHD because Sarah has ADHD. I was like, I saw this post today about ADHD and like, I'm identifying a little too much with several of the things on there, and like that's a no for me. Stolen Focus is so good. Okay, I'll definitely read that. Thank you guys. But yeah, I think this is so much just like a how are we protecting our brain? Like, even if it's not like a oh, this is so bad for my mental health, it's like this is bad for my brain health. I got a brick too. Um, Karen Nordine and Chelsea Connors, shout out. I was like, not that. I was like, I don't really have a thing with social, but then I was like, oh, I definitely do want to do that less. Also, I didn't know this, but you can limit time spent on an app on your iPhone. Like there's a setting where you can be like, I only want to be on Instagram for an hour a day, and if it's more than an hour, lock me out, which I thought was so interesting. Related to that, I feel like I need to get my brain more focused on the positive things I got a little caught up on and still think it's so important in news, political events. Oh my gosh. Okay. I feel like we're kind of like veering, but uh one of like Henny and I's goals together for this year is to complain less. I feel like we're very good at like big things, if that makes sense. Like we take really positive spins toward like big things, but like we'll find ourselves complaining about like the dumbest little shit like a lot lately, and we're both like so getting the ick from it. Like ugh. And so anyway, we just started with like we're complaining less. We have like a word if the other person is complaining more that we like are gonna say. And then we also did something where we just started and we just did it yesterday. It was like really great where we set a timer for 10 minutes each. And you just have to like brain dump on like 10 or for 10 minutes on like all the positive shit that's happening. And we did it last night and we were both like, that was fucking awesome. Like we should do that all the time. So anyway, I'm with you on that. I'm wanting to write without a screen. I love that, Jackie. Oh my God, that's fun. I do the remarkable, which I do think helps me too, but I mean technically it's still a screen, I guess. Um, but yes, I think it's like interesting that we're kind of all on that same wavelength of like, how can we like put ourselves in a good place from a brain space, from a positivity space to be like, cool, I'm running my business from a place of positivity. I'm running it from a place of like doing shit that feels good, from focusing on connection, from protecting my brain health. Like, I think those are really a lot of the things. The last rule I have, which goes along very well with this, is mindset is 100%, or let me say it differently. I probably did write 100%, but like mindset is 90% of the game. I have always believed this. I have always preached this. I've always talked about it a lot, but I do feel like I have talked about it less in recent years. And I think in some ways on purpose, because I feel like our industry over indexed on that so much for a minute. Um, but I really feel like when I look at client success from this year, when I look at things that happen for me and my own success, like most of it comes down to like what stories are you making about stuff that's happening? Because like last year, again, we know the online space was changing a lot. Like you can either decide that you're like really good at leveraging that change and getting results from it and being like able to like normalize what's happening and move forward, or you can freak the fuck out, you know? Um, and I think remembering how much mindset is most of the game, especially if we continue to be in a year where a lot's shifting and evolving, is really so helpful because it is the thing you have control over. It is the thing that you can like truly do work around, that you can truly hold and own, right? Like we can't always change what's happening in the online space, but we can definitely change like what stories we're creating around it, what our response is to that. And so making it one of the rules, I think, is just so helpful because one, it's going to make me prioritize it even more, but two, it like is a reminder of how much that matters. Like I think it's so easy to be like, yeah, that's important. And instead of like, that's most of the game. I think that I also, and I don't know if any of you identify with this, like having been in business for 10 years, like I kind of naturally bring a pretty good mindset to it. Like, just because I have so much time under my belt and practice and different experiences that like I more have like wiring that lends itself towards like I can figure shit out. This is fine. This is happening for me. Everything always works out perfectly for me. But it's also made me a little lazier at doing the mindset work and reinforcing it. And so that's one of the reasons I put it on a rule because it's almost like I'm getting away with like 80%, if that makes sense. Because like I have some of it built up, but I could be at 95% if I was like doing a little more work around that or putting more effort into that. So that's the last rule for me. But like none of this is rocket science. And also it really is stuff that I don't think our space always talks about. Like it's so much easier to be like, here's this chat GBT thing, and here's this new trend that you have to get on, and da da da. It's so much harder to be like, what if I wasn't using any of that? What if I was tuning that out? What if I was doing what feels good to me? What if I was only looking at the metrics that actually matter to me? What if I wasn't worried about someone else's business model and was just building the one I wanted? Like, like that does take more work sometimes. It does take more effort than being like, I'm just going to grab whatever, someone's chat GPT plan. But at the end of the day, like I really do think that's what's going to be required for most business owners to like not lose their fucking minds in 2026, but also to continue to have success. Like I really believe that that is what is going to continue to be required of us. But I think what's also nice is it's actually what's good for us too. Like it's really good for us to focus on relationships and community. Like that is socially protective. Like it's really good for us to take care of our brains a little bit more. It's really good for us to not over rely on someone else for our creativity, all of that. So I think yes, it is like going to lead to more success, but it's also just like good for us as humans. Yay, Jess, I love that. How do I make my own rules? I want some. So I basically just looked at my goals. So I was saying like these align to a lot of my goals and was kind of like, what are my rules around this? Like, so, one of my goals was, um, I want to be more creative and rely on AI less. So I was like, okay, the rule is we don't use AI for copy or content. So kind of stuff like that. So I would like look at like, what are the goals and then how do you achieve that? Like, again, another goal for me was like, I really want to feel like I'm focused on engagement and connection with my audience. Okay, cool. So like relationships and connections are the foundation through which we do everything, like that kind of stuff. So I feel like it's helpful if they align. So you're not like, well, I have some rules over here and I have some goals over here. And what am I supposed to focus on? Where it's like they kind of all fit together. Like if I follow all my rules, I'm going to hit most of my goals. You know what I mean? So anyway, I think that was like a helpful way that I thought about it. I did goals first. Um, and I also have some like very boring goals this year. I'm going to share more on that too, but like you don't have to have like crazy ass goals to make these rules. Like, you know, engagement isn't like a crazy ass goal. I don't even have like a metric that I care about for that. I just want to feel like engagement and connection with my audience. So you figure out whatever works for you there. There's no like, I want to whatever 20x my engagement or anything like that. That has to be there. But I do think like you do have to have direction. You do want to know like where you're going, what matters to you, and like actually pull yourself in that direction, because if not, the online space will pull you in 500 directions. Like if you are not clear, you will get pulled every which way all the time. I'm also someone who like tends to have like a very open mind, which is sometimes a very good thing for me and sometimes can be a very bad thing for me. Like I'm always willing to change my mind sometimes. Like I'm like, oh, like I would have told you I didn't have a problem with social, and like I actually have a really positive relationship with social. But then when I was starting to read some of the studies on like what this kind of like level of dopamine does to our brain and stuff, I'm like, okay, I'm willing to change my mind. But like I say that to say like if you are like me, that can be really good, but it can also mean that if you're not careful what you're constantly putting into your brain, you will get pulled in 100 directions. So having your goals, having your rules, being clear on what you're focused on really, really matters, so that you don't get like tossed about next year and you actually are like moving toward the thing. So I hope that helps. These are mine. They don't have to be yours, but still any and all that you like. And I will be back next week. That's when I'm going to do more like where I see our industry going, and like what I learned from all of the applications that I reviewed in December. So I think that will be a good one. And I hope you guys have a very happy new year. Yeah, squirrel brain. I hear that big time. Okay, guys, have a beautiful week and I'll see you next week. Bye now.